video is going to review standard terminology in Revit. So as you start working with BIM-based software such as Revit, you should know the typical terms used to describe items in the Autodesk Revit software. There are several types of elements that I'm going to describe next. The first one is a host. So a host is a built-in-place construction element. So it's something such as, let me just turn these shadows off, a floor or a roof up here, or a wall, ceilings or stairs or ramps. That is a host, so meaning it's going to host some other type of object. Think of like a parasite. You're the host for a parasite. The next term is a component. So these are elements that need to be attached to host elements. So those elements include things like doors and windows. So if we look at this model, you can see there's windows inside of each of these, and those are going to be considered components. Or a door. You can't place a door, a window, or a railing as a standalone item. They have to be placed onto a host element. So for example, if I click the door command and I try to place it outside of a wall, see how I have the circle with a slash through it? That means no, you can't do it. But once I get near the wall, it will allow me to place the element. The third term is a view. So these are all views. They enable you to display and manipulate the project. For example, you can work in a view, a floor plan view, a ceiling plan view, a 3D view, or a section view. All the views are stored inside of the project in the project browser. The fourth term is a datum line. So a datum line is going to refer to elements that define the project context. So these include levels for the floors, column grids, and reference planes that help you draw. So for example, right here, these are levels and they're marking all my floor levels. So you can see my first floor level, it's actually underground in this case. Second floor starts at 12 feet and the roof at 24 feet. These are all levels. Grids are going to be lines that mark sections, or structural areas, So if you click on datum and then grid, it's going to be a vertical line that's going to mark any type of structural item in your building. And then the last term we have is annotations. So these are going to be 2D elements that are placed in views that define the information drawn in the project. So these include things like dimensions, text, tags, and symbols. The view scale controls their size. So if I go to the floor plan here and I do something like annotate and I take a dimension, you can see that it placed that dimension line here, and I can control the size of this in my type properties, and I also control it by controlling the scale. So if I change the scale of my drawing to 1/8, you notice that the text got larger. And this has to do with how large or small the drawing is printed on a piece of paper. So it automatically controls the size. Other things that are included are things like text and symbols. And we'll work through placing those in our drawing in the coming exercises. If you're not familiar with the type of symbols that are used on drawings, I suggest that you go back to your materials from possibly AET 123 or CET 135 and become familiar. I have also placed architectural symbols that are commonly found on drawings in the reference area on Blackboard. So you can see this is the symbol for a section. Now we have also symbols for elevations and exterior elevations and interior elevations. So please review those and become familiar with them so that you can understand what you're looking at in Revit and so you can easily find it. All of these symbols are going to be contained in the View tab. In here is where you're going to be able to create sections, callouts, elevations, and other plan views. Some additional terminology that you'll need to know. If we come up to the application menu, you're going to see under the Save As that Revit has several different project files. So if you save it as a project, this is a .rvt file. This means this is your primary drawing file. This is where you do the majority of your work in the building model with views and sheets. They are initially based on template files. So project files are .rvt files, and that's what we're going to be working in. Template files are going to be .rte files, and these are designed to hold standard information and settings for creating new project files. The software includes several templates for residential, commercial, and structural projects, but you can also create custom templates. And then we have family files, which currently is grayed out on here, but that's going to be a .rfa file. And these are going to be separate components that can be inserted into the project. For example, you could create a family of a single flush door or a double glass door. You could create a desk family or a title block family. These are just elements that go inside of your project. So mainly we're going to be working with project files. If I click on project, you're going to see that it opens up, well, mine's set here to open up the last projects I had that I was working on. If you start from new, Revit's going to ask you if you want to use a construction template, architectural template, structural template, or mechanical template. So I'm going to show you the difference between these. If I click on construction template and say OK, just watch the project browser. The project browser loads in with a construction template these a couple different levels. So we've got top of footing, top of basement, slab, and top of foundation wall. It also has preset views that it loads in. But now, if I open new a architectural template, take a look at the project browser. You're going to see that the project browser is more basic, so it's only loading in some basic levels and some basic elevation views. For the projects that we're using in this class, we're always going to start with an architectural template. Make sure that you start with the architectural template, because as I just showed you, the project browser includes or does not include certain parts in it if you don't start with the architectural template, and then you'll end up getting kind of stuck later on in projects. The structural template, let's take a look at that one. So you'll see now that we have a couple other levels called analytical loaded in here. And also the view ranges for each of these is going to be different. I haven't talked about view range yet, but I will. And then lastly, let's just take a look at the mechanical template, and you're going to see even more different views are loaded inside of here. So again, we're always starting with new, if we have to do new, architectural template. And we're always creating a new project, not a project template, because again, we're creating a drawing. And we're going to say OK. So that concludes the standard terminology used in Revit. There is much more terminology that we could review, but the ones that I've reviewed will get you started.